The following program is rated D for dumb.
So much I can smell my own breath. My baby left me, my best friend's not at home. Can't get that woman off my mind. I've never been the broody kind, but there's still one thing makes me come alive. Yeah,
the following podcast is rated D for dumb. You're listening to Dumbing It Down with Dave, the fastest podcast on earth. Listen to Dave commute to and from work on the New York State Thruway in his 2008 Kia Rio LX. He talks about pragmatism, truth, happiness, and the search for it all. Join Dave as he asks and tells you how life ought to be. And now, here's Dave.
Well, hello everybody. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Dumbing It Down with Dave. I'm on the Thruway headed north. Going to work. You want to dumb it down with me? All right. We'll hop in. Close the door behind you. Buckle in. You know, always buckle up for safety. Safety first. We're on the way to work. And so come and enjoy my commute while you're on your commute. Listen to my commute while you're on your commute. There you go. All right. Something like that. Hey, thanks for tuning in to Dumbing It Down with Dave. It's all about pragmatism, truth, happiness, and the search for it all. And let's just real quickly give appreciation to those that deserve it. Thanks to Alex Exum at the top of the show. That was his voice doing the intro. The singing was done. That's Alex Exum, Alexexum. The singing was done, and the song was done by Hal and Philly. Hal and Philly of the Tales of the Road Warriors podcast. And it's easy when you know Hal. Listen to Hal during his Halpocalypse in his basement, do shows. He has a new one out, a new Tales of the Road Warriors out. It's pretty good. You should check it out. It's Hal in Philly. Thank you very much, Hal. Hal Cohen. Thank you very much for the song, Going for a Drive. Love the song. Love the song. Should be at the top of the charts. It's not on a chart. Should be on the chart. It's not on a chart. You can't go to the top of the charts unless it gets on a chart. I don't know how you get a song on a chart. Anyway, you sell it to Bon Jovi. That's how you do it. So, so thank you. And also, you heard Hazel at the top of the show saying this show is rated D for dumb. That's an AI voice supplied by Linda from Awesome Insanity Surfers. Thank you, Linda. Appreciate it very much. Great job. So it's good to have the whole family together. And that was a nice, smooth intro. That took a lot of work. I had to put that all together. With no editing equipment, no audio editing equipment. I just do it on my iPhone, and it's not easy. It's without a doubt, it's copy and paste, but I got it done, and it sounds pretty smooth. So there you go. Maybe one day I'll have actual audio or video editing equipment, and I'll do even more. You know, once I learn what I'm doing. But that's not for now. I looked into something at the New School. I think it's called the New School for Media up in Albany. You can take an online class, but you get down to the nitty gritty. It's like $4,700 for audio video editing. Yeah, maybe it's worth it, but not right now. I got a whole bunch of money sunk into my house, and which is just about done. For 2020, which is a relief. I don't know how much work you've done in your house recently or in the past, but it could be exhausting whether you do the work or you pay somebody to do the work. And, it interferes, especially when you try to sleep during the day. Definitely did not have a great sleep day today. I didn't get to the bed until much later. So I was hoping to get to the bed much earlier. But I couldn't because there was just things happening where I had to be up and about. By the way, did I mention it's 7:47 p.m.? Started the show about 7:45. Northbound on the New York State Thruway, really quite late. Very quite late. I thought I was going to be out of here about an hour or so ago. But like I said, I didn't get to sleep as early as I wanted to, and that's the story of my life. I either don't get to sleep as early as I want, or I don't stay asleep as late as I want, and I don't sleep as long as I want, or as comfortable as I want. It's just a whole anti-sleep thing going on in my life, and I'm really not happy about that. It's definitely contributes to my behavior. It contributes to my effectiveness and my sharpness. I definitely don't feel sharp. I feel quite dull. Definitely feel like what's that Odd Couple reference? An inane drone. What was that? A dull bee, an inane drone. Remember that Odd Couple episode? Anyway, a dull bee, an inane drone. INANE, inane drone. I think that's what they were talking about. It's a funny bit on the Odd Couple. All right, so anyway, northbound on the thruway on my way to work. Day 2 of 5 in a row. It looks like it's going to be, and driving around in ghost towns. I mean, I've always driven in ghost towns, but now it's even ghostier than ghost. Craziness, driving down where it's always like 2 o'clock in the morning, 2:30 in the morning, where there's nobody on the road. It's like that right now. Right now, it feels like it's 2:30 in the morning. Although it's not totally sunset, but even though it's 7:49 now, but it's dark. But it's not as dark as it could be, and but it feels weird. That's all. It's not even a complaint. I'm just making note of it. I have no complaints. My life hasn't changed since this whole Corona thing. I've been doing all I've been doing. Nothing has changed except now this week the hours are a little bit less. Even though I'm getting overtime, the hours are a little bit less because it's silly details. I can't explain it to you. I'm working a 5th day, but I'm not working a full day. So for whatever reason, they're bringing me in tomorrow. Although I fully expect that by tomorrow morning they would have canceled it. They would say, no, turns out we don't need you. So whatever. Last week they said they didn't need me, and then before I even left the job, they said, oh yeah, by the way, we need you tonight. I'm like, oh great. So whatever. Then they were supposed to notify me at 11 a.m. for sure, and then I didn't get a text until 2 p.m. So whatever. It's the inefficiency of the company. They don't know one way or another they're coming or going, and but apparently we got bought. So we'll be climbing out of this chapter 11, and hopefully the future will be looking better. The future will only look better for me when I retire. Excuse me for the clearing of the throat, but I had this like half milk, half water protein drink just before I started the show, and it's making me want to clear my throat. All right, so that's a little rude. I apologize in advance, but it's uncomfortable to talk when you gotta clear your throat. Okay, so all right, so there you go. That's pretty much the update on Dave's life. Still at the job. Nothing much has changed. Mom is hanging on for dear life down at the nursing home in Manhattan Beach at the Menorah Nursing Home. We've gotten some phone calls from time to time. She's having a little trouble breathing. She might have had an upper respiratory infection. They gave her antibiotics. Now she's on a low dose of morphine to help her relax. We refused as a family, my sister, my father, and I refused to have her go to a hospital. We want them to take care of her in the nursing home. So that's a whole thing. That's now she's a DNH, do not hospitalize. So because there's nobody that's going to be at the hospital to interpret for her. So it would be a horrible situation, and that's the really worst part of this for us, my family, for this COVID, is that mom needs an interpreter, and we can't get one. So she's the only deaf woman in the building. And although there's one lady in the building that claims to know sign language, I'm not saying claims like she's lying. She just doesn't really know it enough. It would be like me trying to talk Spanish to a Spanish family. They're like, and I'd be like, hola, me llamo es David. ¿Cómo se llama usted? They're like, hey, I can't speak Spanish. I'm not a Spanish interpreter, and this person isn't a sign language interpreter. But she does know some sign language, but she's not that good. Not good enough to be certified. That's it. That's the bottom line. Not good enough to be certified. All right, let's move on. I hope you guys enjoyed episode 215, which was which was, let me see, what was it called? It was called, A Fantastic Distraction, I'm Engaged, where we talked about Kendra Gaylord and her show, Someone Lived Here. I binged listened to all of her shows last night. I listened to the first show the other day. I did a show about it because it moved me so much. I really enjoyed it. I like when something moves me as much as it did Someone Lived Here, where she finds an empty house. Not an empty house. She finds a house that is no longer occupied by the cool person that used to live there, or the cool people, the cool family. So I have since listened to all of her shows. She's up to season 2. I think it's about 8 or 9 shows, and they all tell a great story, which is what I like. When you're a podcaster, they tell you that you're the messenger. That's the word out in the street, at the podcast movement. You're the messenger. You're the storyteller. So my story is my life, my interactions at work, or whatever are my thoughts. So I have to sort of make that a story. Sometimes I hit it, sometimes I miss it. But Someone Lived Here with Kendra Gaylord. She does a good job every episode really nailing down the story of the people that lived in that house. The story of the house itself, the structure of the house is fascinating usually. The way the house is decorated, the way the house is built, where the house is located, who was in the house before, during, and after, what's happened to the house since then. Most of these houses go back a couple hundred years. To me, it's all fascinating. Anytime a house can last, I think her oldest story starts in the late 1700s, or the early 1800s, around there. And I think all those houses that she's talking about are still in existence. So we're talking about 200-year-old stories. These are 200-year-old stories. This is not Star Wars. This is not sci-fi. It's 200-year-old true stories. It's not reality TV. It's not reality podcasting. It's not scripted. It's not, it's true stories of structures that have lasted 200 years. I think in this day and age, that's pretty impressive. And one of the structures actually was moved. It was moved. It was picked up and moved down the road because they had to make room for a condominium or a shopping plaza. So a family member of this particular story saved the house from destruction. And they had it moved. And this was in the 20th century. Or maybe it was in the 21st century. I don't know. But it was recently, like in the last 40, 50 years. So that's amazing progress. That's a great story. These people are all fascinating in their own way, and I enjoy that. I enjoy listening, learning about fascinating people. And by the way, it makes me think if they had podcasting back in the day, I might have been a better student. If they taught class, if they taught history, social studies, the way Kendra does Someone Lived Here, it'd be a lot more fascinating. It'd be a lot more interesting. Okay, so there you go. So I listened to all the episodes. She does a great job. Speaking of a great job, let me read a review. Do I want to do that? Let me read a review of... where did I lose it? I got it right here. All right. Let me read a review. Before I read the review, let me just share something with you. So, one of the previous episodes, which one was it? I don't remember which one it was. It was probably the Captain Crozier episode. Can I get to it? Let me see without ruining the show. It might have been Captain Crozier and the Chain of Command. Might have been that one, which was episode 213, I think it was. Yeah, it could be. So, I did an episode called Captain Crozier and the Chain of Command. And I spoke about being on the USS Sunbird, the LKA, that was a ASR-15, which doesn't matter. I don't know why I'm even trying to think about that. Maybe I'll do that for my own benefit. Yeah, the USS Sunbird, Auxiliary Submarine Rescue, ASR-15. And we talked about, I mentioned that we towed around a vessel, a yellow submarine called the NR-1, Navy Research or Navy Rescue 1. I think it was Navy Research. And it's funny, I said something, but nobody questioned me on it. Nobody texted me or, nobody, whatever. So it made me feel like, wow, are you guys listening? Did I not make that point clear, or did you not care, or do you already know the answer to it? So nobody asked me about it, so I'm just going to reiterate the point, I think, or whatever I'm going to do, or whatever the big word is. I talked about, we towed around the NR1, and it was looking for the screw of the USS Philadelphia. I think that's what I said. I know I called it a screw, and nobody called me on it. Nobody said, hey, what are you talking about? What's a screw? I mean, come on, it seems ridiculous. A screw? I mean, you can go to the hardware store and get a screw. Even the Navy can get a $500 screw, from the hardware store, whatever, But the screw is the thing at the back of a submarine. You'll see it in movies. It's kind of like the propeller. On an airplane, it's called a propeller. On a submarine, it's called a screw. And that's what keeps the submarine moving forward, is the screw spins. In the olden movies, I think they had smaller screws. In the olden days, I really don't know the size of the screw. I think more modern days, the screw is much larger. It's much larger, and it's one big one as opposed to smaller ones. I could be wrong. I'm not a submarine expert. I'm not a military expert, but you can look it up. And I was under the recollection that we were looking for the USS Philadelphia screw because it fell off. Thinking back now, that was probably some fakakta story that somebody told me. I don't know what the NR1 was doing off the coast of Ireland. Maybe it's possible. Maybe the screw did fall off. That would be a mechanical failure of epic proportions. I can't even imagine what that would sound like or what that would look like. Why the USS Philadelphia would be off the coast of Ireland. I think we were really in a channel more than we were in the ocean. I really don't remember the specifics of it, but I would have to say, looking back, I kind of feel like, really, a gigantic screw fell off the back of the Philadelphia? I probably just bought into it because I was young and dumb. Somebody told me that, and I said, oh, okay, what do I know? All right, nobody called me on that. I'm bringing it back up. There you go. I hope you're paying attention. I hope that I'm clear about my details. I hope that it's interesting. I hope people aren't just like clicking like and moving on and saying, oh, yeah, I listened to the show. I hope so. All I can do is hope. When you're a podcaster, you put it out there, you hope people are really tuned in. All right. Speaking of tuned in, here's a review that I got a while back. And I never read it. And I mentioned that I was going to read it. It's from Pat Mason. And he actually texted me this. He didn't, which I find interesting because he's not the only one that's done this, where I get a message, which is, I guess it's okay because I asked for it, I guess. Although it's different when you get it. Not everybody has my text number. There's very few listeners that know how to text me. But I do ask, for Twitter, and I do ask for emails at dumbingitdown@yahoo.com. So he was able to text me. So he could have put it in the Spreaker comments, because if he took the time to type it, I'm not complaining. I'm just making a point that if you are texting a message or you're voice texting it, you could do it in Spreaker as well as just send me a message. But I know what he was doing. He's being very considerate. That's what he was doing. Pat's been very considerate since he's been a fan. So here's the message. All right. Tonight's show, this was, I don't know what episode. It was a while back. A couple of episodes ago. Tonight's show was excellent. You've heard the term comedy gold. Well, the show was comment gold. I was listening on to the show on my way to Rochester. Oh, boy. And could not comment. So I'll replay the show at lunchtime and make my comments. Keep up the good shows. Well, I don't think he ever got to those comments, so that's fine. There's a list. Yeah, I don't remember that he did get to the comments because I was waiting for it. But I did hold on to this text message, and I'm reading it. So thank you, Pat. I'll take this as a comment. This is comment enough. The fact that you referred to the show as comment gold instead of comedy gold. That's fine, because the show isn't a comedy show. It's a commentary show. I'm commenting on things, so I appreciate when you comment on my comment. All right, so there you go. Thank you, Pat. But it is interesting, I guess, if you think about it, right? You could have done this in the Spreaker box, but you did it this way. There must have been a reason for it, whether it's a matter of convenience. I get it. I'm happy that anybody corresponds with me, because the majority of the listeners don't. And if I look at the Spreaker statistics, every show I'm either having 20 listeners or 200 listeners. I don't know how to read this thing. I have no idea how to understand the popularity of the show or the unpopularity of the show. But I know that there's a lot of people that listen and never comment. And I do get a kick out of that. I do. I mean, if this Spreaker box had when it has 10, 20 comments, it's fantastic. Even though 10 might be from Pat, 3 or 4 or 5 might be from Linda, and then Hal sticks in his comment there, and I used to get Mark commenting, and Pat Maruki will comment, and but it's nice to see new and different names and faces. You would think that every show you would get somebody new, and when you don't, you're kind of like, oh, okay, so I have a little family here, 5 or 6 people, or is it 20 people and 15 people don't comment? Most people don't want to be engaged. They don't want to be engaged. I get it, but it's tough as a podcaster to buy into that, because you want to know how you don't want to trust statistics that are supplied to you by the company you're paying to host my show. Does that make sense? I don't want to trust their statistics, although apparently they've been certified by some company that certifies podcast host companies. So when they tell me information, supposedly it's true because they've been certified by this company. All right. Anyway, thank you very much, Pat, for that. I appreciate that. All right, now let's get to something else. How much time do I have left? Sounds like I babbled on pretty good. Wow. Okay. All right, let me play this voicemail. I might as well play it before it gets too old, because I did mention my mom is in the nursing home. So listen to this voicemail. All right, ready? I'm gonna hit the button. I'm gonna play it, and you listen, and then you tell me what you think. Ready? Go.
Hi, David. This is Tatiana, nurse practitioner, Minora nursing home. The Kanyan condition stable, but it's still wheezing. And Dr. Gorelka wants to start prednisone, like steroid, remove inflammation. And she's still on antibiotics, oxygen, nebulizer therapy, and we added some steroid by mouth, like tablets, for wheezing inflammation. Thank you. Stay safe. Bye-bye.
All right, there you go. All right. So I'm sleeping in the van. I'm sleeping in the Dodge Caravan because I didn't go home that day. And this woman had called me the day before and woke me up. She doesn't know that I'm asleep. And she just barrels into this message. Not this one. This one here she left because I didn't answer this time. Because I forget why, but I didn't answer this one. But the previous day she called, and man, she just talked to me like whatever. Like I was also Russian, or whatever accent this is. I'm pretty sure it's Russian. So the reason why I'm sharing this with you, because I got to tell you how frustrating it is when you try to take care of an 82-year-old deaf woman who's recovering from a stroke and will be living in this nursing home for the rest of her life. And I lived down there for 2 months to make sure that she was being taken care of, all by myself. I mean, my father was there, but I slept there. I slept overnight at the nursing home because I knew that taking care of this woman, this deaf woman, was going to be an issue, because that building is the International House of Nursing. It's like nurses from Jamaica, from Haiti, from Puerto Rico, from Uruguay, from Nigeria, from Somalia, from the Ukraine, from Russia, from Germany, from France, from Holland, Scotland, whatever. It's the most. Everybody works there except for people who are from Brooklyn. Nobody who's just like Jane Smith is a nurse at this nursing home. You understand what I'm saying? Everybody except for Jane Smith works at this nursing home. And it was predominantly Russian. So my mom is a deaf woman. So it doesn't matter what language you're speaking, she can't hear you. But I was there, and I had to deal with every time a nurse would walk in the room. I'm like, well, I don't know what voice this is going to be. So this woman called me the other day, and she spoke to me live.
Hi, David. This is Tatiana, nurse practitioner, Minora nursing home.
All right. So that was in my ear. She woke me up, and that was in my ear. And I'm like, holy cow. So my point of sharing this with you, because it's a human behavior thing. It's not about I only want Americans in this country. It's not that I want English to be the mother language or whatever you want to call it. I'm not pulling that whole agenda. There's no agenda here. I don't lean left. I don't lean right. I walk forward towards the truth. And here's my truth. The truth is, when you know...
Hi, David. This is Tatiana, nurse practitioner, minora nurse.
Okay, when you know you sound like that, you must know you sound like that. See, I know I sound like this. Hey, how you doing? What's going on? See, that's an exaggeration. But I know that if I let go, if I just rant and rave, that you are probably hearing, hey, how you doing? Hey, yo, it's Dave Canyon. Well, how you doing? Hey, well, what the F are you? Hey, what's the matter with you? Like that. I know what you're hearing. A lot of you hear that. I get that. So I try to slow down. I try to enunciate. If I was in a meeting with anybody, I would slow down and I would enunciate. Especially if I'm a medical person and I'm taking care of an 82-year-old deaf woman. Anyway, so she calls me and she doesn't say, good afternoon, Mr. Canyon. This is, I'm just going to make up a name, Sophie, whatever. That wasn't her name. Good afternoon, Mr. Canyon. This is Sophie from Menorah Nursing Home. I have some information I want to share with you. Everything's okay with your mother, but there's just some things you ought to know. Is this a good time? No, it wasn't that. What I got was this. It's basically, I pick up the phone, I go, hello?
Hi, David. This is Tatiana, nurse practitioner, Menorah Nursing Home. The Kanyan...
Wow. Kanyan, what do you mean, Kanyan? You mean Sonia, my mom? My mommy? Sonia? She goes, Kanyan. Oh, so you're reading the name from a file? Anyway, she just barreled right through. And then at the end of it, she goes, okay, so you understand? I went, no, I do not. I do not understand. Tatiana, you realize your accent is incredibly thick. And I do not speak to Russians every day. Oh, okay. I don't speak to Russians every day. I speak to Russians never. And you come here with this Boris and Natasha routine. Remember that? Boris and Natasha from Rocky and Bullwinkle? But their accents were Americanized. Boris, I am Natasha. We have to catch the squirrel. Yes, we have to catch the squirrel, Natasha. Whatever. I don't remember exactly what they would say. But this woman comes barreling in 50 miles an hour. Faster. She spoke faster than the fastest podcast on earth. She's the fastest speaking Russian nurse on earth. And I'm sitting there going, I don't have a clue. I don't have a clue what you're talking about.
Hi, David. This is Tatiana, nurse practitioner, Menorah Nursing Home.
Oh, boy. Nursing home. Would it really kill you? Would it really kill you to say, all right, I realize I'm about to call an American. I'm calling upstate New York, or I'm calling Brooklyn. All right, so chances are this guy... Oh, by the way, when I answer the phone, hello, Dave here. That's how I answer the phone, by the way. 99% of the time. Hello, Dave here. Does that sound Russian to you? So what did you say to me? Oh, I'm calling a non-Russian. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to be conscientious. I'm going to do my job even better. I mean, when I apply medicine and whatever do they do, I know nurses don't wipe butts, but whatever love and attention they give, medical attention and care, life support they give to a patient, I'm going to go one step further. I'm going to speak slowly. Hello, David. This is Sophie. How are you today? I'm calling from Menorah Nursing Home. Yes. Okay, so I have important information about your mother, the woman who gave birth to you. Right? Okay. She's okay. Not life-threatening. Okay. So listen, I don't have to do a good Russian accent. She has to do a better English accent. Thank you for listening to this episode of Dumbing It Down with Dave. Goodbye, good day, good night, good luck, good riddance, good rats, Godspeed, and great